Hey guys, this video is going to show you how I made that app that I just showed you in this topic about squaring and square roots. So what I like to start with, since we're talking about an area that can change, anytime that there's a variable, I like to create the slider first so that GeoGebra knows what the value is. Make sure that you have your algebra window shown here, and if you don't see it, if it looks like this, just your graphics window, you can go to View and just click on Algebra and it'll open up our algebra window. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is grab my slider tool, and I'm just going to click somewhere in the screen. I always like to put my sliders in the upper right. The name of this thing is just going to be a variable. Okay, we can change it to if we wanted to. We can call this area, and the area will just be our variable. So we can call it A, you can call it area. I'll just leave it here at area. Down here in the interval, our minimum for our slider area can't be negative, so I'm going to make the area 0, and then max, like in my video, I'm going to make this 1,000. And then our increment as we jump up, what do we want to jump up by? And we can jump up by 1, or whatever you choose to do. If you click the slider tab, you can fix your slider, which means that it won't move. You can make it horizontal if you want to. You could make it vertical if you wanted to. Just a vertical slider. I'm going to stick with horizontal. And then the width is how long we want it to be. So by default you get 100 as a width. So I'm just going to click apply. Now if my slider, if I wanted it longer, I would just right click it, go to its properties, go back to that width here, and maybe make it say 500. Should make it 5 times as long, right? So if you click OK, you get this big long slider. You can only move sliders if you have your slider tool handy. Alright, and that seems good enough. So now I'm going to change the color. Make sure your slider is highlighted, and you can just, I'm going to make it say green and stand out a little bit. Oops, that didn't seem to work here. Green, there we go, and make it stand out a little bit. Okay, so there's my area slider. So now let's go ahead and construct this square that'll move dynamically with our area slider here. Okay, so right now I'm going to stick a point at the origin. That'll be my bottom left corner of our square. So now the next point that I'll put on the x-axis, and then we'll put one on the y-axis, needs to be really, since this is the area, we need a point that goes out to the square root of that area. Okay, so what we can do in our input bar, if you click in your input bar, we're just going to put a point, and we don't have to label it, just use your parentheses like a point here. The x coordinate is what's going to make the point go out on the x-axis, right? So this is just going to be the square root. So type SQRT, that's our notation for square root. And then in parentheses, we're going to take the square root of area, and that's the name of our number. So if you make the square root of the area, so area right now is set at 2, the square root of 2 is going to be like that 1.41, something like that. That's going to be the x-coordinate. The y-coordinate of our point then is just going to be 0, so that we're on the x-axis. So when I hit enter, notice we get a point now that's at that 1.41 and whatnot. So now to check to make sure we did this correctly, I'm going to just slide my area slider, and notice B is going to move, and it's going to be the square root of the area. So if I stop at an area of 100, the side length then would be 10, right? So let's get this other point up here on the y-axis. So same deal, I'm going to, in my input bar, do my parentheses for an ordered pair. The x-coordinate is 0 to make it on the y-axis, and the y-coordinate is going to be the same length. It's going to be the square root of our area. So I'm going to type square root, in parentheses, type area, and click outside of there so we don't get any of those canned functions already. So here's our x-coordinate, y-coordinate is the square root of our area, and when we hit enter, we get the point in our algebra window, but I don't see 10 up here. There's a couple ways we could fix that. You can just zoom, which then notice as we zoom, our scale changes. It doesn't go by 1, it can go by 2 if we wanted to, and as we zoom more and more and more, we'll change that scale. Okay, so you could leave it as that if you want to. One nice thing about GeoGebra, if you want to keep your scale the same no matter what you zoom, like if you always want it to be like a scale of 1, like this, for example, then if you right click your graphics window somewhere and go down to graphics, we can go to the X and the Y axis here. If you click the X axis tab, notice it says distance, and we want our distance to be 1. So if you check the distance box, you can set your scale to be whatever you want, and you may want it to always be 1. You may want it to be 2, which I think 2, I like that because we can get more numbers in there. And the Y axis, I'm going to click that tab, and I'm going to say the distance is going to be 2 also. And so now that we have that fixed, no matter what we zoom in or out, our scale is always going to be 2. Okay, so I'm good with that. So now if I zoom, okay, no matter what, zoom in as much as we want, we're always going to have a scale of 2. So we can see we have 3 points here of our square, and as we change our area around, those points change accordingly. So we need that 4th point, which, if you think about it, the 4th point, which would be like here somewhere, it's got the X coordinate of B, but it's got the Y coordinate of C, and that's exactly how we can type this. So in GeoGebra, I'm going to put an ordered pair. I'm going to grab my pen tool just so that I can write this function down for you. So the way that we do that, if I want to pull the coordinate of a point, then we just say X with parentheses. So this is like the X coordinate of our point. So in this case, I'm going to say the X coordinate of B, and that'll just pull the X coordinate from this ordered pair. If I want the Y coordinate of C, it's the same thing. I'm just going to say the Y coordinate of my point, in this case C. So that'll be the Y coordinate of C. So now if I put that into my input, so in my parentheses, the X coordinate of this 4th point needs to have the X coordinate of B, comma, the Y coordinate of C. And so if I hit enter, it takes the X coordinate of B, the Y coordinate of C, and puts our point right here where it needs to be for our square, right? So now as we change this around, everything is staying. It's going to keep that square for us. And we have this dynamic square that changes based off of our area value right now. Okay? I'm going to hide my pen strokes just by clicking that little green. These are visual hide show buttons. Anything that's green is showing, anything that is white is hidden, so that's kind of how those work. Alright, so let's finish out our square. I'm going to grab my segment tool, and I'm just going to make my square here. And actually, no, I lied. I'm going to undo that. Let's use our polygon tool. What's different about this, the segment tool, let me finish this thought up here. If I use my segment tool, I can make a square, right, like this. But that doesn't really help us with the area and whatnot. We can actually, if we use the polygon tool, so I'm going to undo to take those segments away. If I use the polygon tool, what I'm going to do is click on the 4 points, C, then D, B, and A. Notice we get this shaded region in here. And we have to close off our polygon, just like its definition, close off our square. But now it creates this polygon and it has this shaded region in here. What's really nice about that is we can go to our measurement toolbox, the one that has this angle tool shown. If you drop that down, we have a distance or length tool, so we can measure side length if we wanted to. But we also have an area tool. And this is what's great about polygons. So if you grab your area tool and you just click in your polygon somewhere, it'll automatically give you the area. Okay? So the area of this is 100. If you don't want it to say like area of the CBDA, you could always right click, change it to area is equal to the poly one here. So notice in our preview we have area equals 100, and I like that better. So it's just saying the area. We don't really care so much about, you know, the definition of the polygon or the labeling of our polygon. Okay, so there's our area, and it just is the same thing as our sliders. And if I want it to be the same color as my slider, I'm just going to click on my polygon, make sure you have your move tool selected, and then you can change its color to say green. Okay, now notice what's nice about the polygon tool is it makes that interior polygon that we can measure, and it shades the color, but it also makes our side lengths, the segments. So if I want my segments, which is a different concept, right? That's going to be the square root. I want that to be a different color than my area. So I'm just going to click on the word segment, which will highlight everything in that segment group. And I'm going to make it orange, is what I had on my app. And maybe make them, I like to make my segments a little thicker. Okay. Alright, so here's our square now. I'm not going to label the side lengths or measure the side lengths, but as we change, we can see that we can use the number line to be our reasoning. And right now you can see that my rounding is big. I never changed it from the previous video where you go options rounding. By default you'll have 2 decimal places. So here's our square that moves dynamically, right? So that's kind of neat. All right, now let's get our dynamic text up here. So in these this toolbox here, the third one really from the right, you can see the insert text tool, this ABC tool. So grab that and just click somewhere in the screen here. So the first thing we're going to do is say the area, right? So we're going to say area of square is equal to, and I'm going to click this LaTeX formula box here. So, actually no, I lied. I don't like the way that looks, so I'm going to go back to just area of square equals. Okay, now after the equal sign, we wanted to just show the area, right? So I'm just going to click on area here in my algebra window. It creates this little function box in here, formula box. And since area is a variable that's 70, anything in this little formula box will give the value of our formula, or just a variable in this case. So now that I clicked on area, I can see that it's just going to show me the value of the area of our square. So area of square is equal to 70. So I'm going to click OK. By default, GeoGebra makes our text kind of small and black like this. So if you click on your text box, you can change the size. Maybe you want it to be large. Oops, and I can't type square or spell square. I'm just going to fix that. Double click your text box if you ever want to fix it, and then hit OK. So now that looks much better. Since the area in this app is green, I'm going to keep my text color coordinated, maybe make it bold. So area of our square is 70. Okay, so to show that relationship between the side length as being the square root of the area, then I'm going to grab my text box again, and down here I'm going to create a new text, and we're going to say side of the square is equal to, we want this to be the square root of the area. So I'm going to find in my objects, I believe, not objects. There's 2 things that we want to do here. I want this to say the square root of my area. I want this to be the side of the square is equal to the square root and give the area value. And then, which is going to be about, and I'll use the approximation signs and actually give the square root value. Okay, so what we need to do is see the square root symbol. And I believe if we go to symbols, we might have to search here through the video, we can grab the square root symbol here, and then we can just click on area again if I want a dynamic number to change. And notice, that doesn't seem like our square root symbol. I might have grabbed the wrong one. I'm just searching through these. I can't remember exactly where the square root is. Well, we're going to go back to this symbol here. It's close enough to the square root. I apologize. I think there is a square root symbol, but right now we're going to use that one. So the side of our square is equal to, say, the square root of 82 of our area. So after this area box, so because area is in that that formula box, it'll change with us. So whatever our area is, this number will change. But now we want to show the approximation. So I'm going to go down to this second where we got that somewhat square root sign, and we can see the approximation sign right here. So I'm going to click on that. So that's approximately. Now I actually want to evaluate the square root of our area. So I'm going to click on my area again to get the little formula box that has my area value. But now I'm going to click in the actual formula box. Get your cursor in the formula box, and to do square root, just like before, we would say SQRT in parentheses I'm going to encase our area in parentheses, and it's going to give us now, in our formula box, we are taking the square root of the area, which gives us the actual decimal value. Okay, so when you hit OK, now we have our text here that we should make large, bold it, and orange to match my side length. So there it is. There's our dynamic text. As we move the area around, we can see our text changing, and we can see the side length match up to our area, and we can do some reasoning with squaring the side length to make the area, or given the area, the side length would be the square root. Okay, so good luck with that, and I apologize about that square root symbol. I know it's in there somewhere. Hopefully you can find it. Thanks, guys.